You feel like you have trust issues. You're not quite sure who can you trust. Who can you trust? Can you trust the woman in your life, the man in your life, your parents, your guardians? Can you trust people around you to really have your best interest? Can you really trust them? Today, I want to talk a little bit about why trust issues are a you issue. Yes, 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 it's a you issue. I know. Clutching pearls, right? Like, what do you mean? There's so many people, so many things that have broken your trust, compromised the integrity of whatever it was that you were building. But today, what we're doing is taking back our power so that we can learn how to trust again, so that we can trust others, we can trust situations, and we can trust life. Because if we don't have trust for life, situations, or people, where does that leave us? That leaves us with nowhere for safety. That leaves us with no place that we can really take as comfort. It's a very scary and unprotected place to be when you can't trust. So if that sounds like you, stay tuned because I'm going to be dropping some gems about how we can get that trust and feel like we can trust other people. Now, for me personally, guys, I always felt as though, I will say I haven't always felt this way. Let's be very clear. There's definitely been some growth within me, which is great. But I've come to learn that trust is an inner thing, right? You're going to notice a lot of general themes in my videos, and I'm always going to talk about us taking accountability. Why? Because we are the only ones we can control. We can't control the people, the things, the places, the events that have hurt us and that have really knocked our trust or our hope in other people and other things that they'll come through for us. We can't change that. But what we can do is rewrite that narrative. So the way that I try to do that for myself is, am I trustworthy? Are you trustworthy? Right? Those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. And what do I mean by are you trustworthy? It's like, yes, of course people can trust me. Of course I have integrity. Of course, when someone turns their back, they can expect that I'm still doing the right thing or I'm about my word. Now, if you're not, we got some help for you too. Right? So the first thing that always helps me is, do you keep little promises to yourself? When you say you're going to wake up and take that walk, when you say that you're going to wake up and do something for yourself, for your betterment, to help you move forward, do you do that? Because those little things that you don't do, or when you don't show up for yourself in those little ways, it nicks away at the trust you have for yourself, to where it's years down the line and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to do this thing forever. I've been wanting to be an entrepreneur. I've been wanting to start this side hustle. I had this great idea, but I sit on it. It's not that you haven't created steps or that you haven't created a plan. I'm talking to people who have created a plan at some point, but for whatever reason, life gets in the way. But you have to look at the small ways that that's nicking away at the trust you have for yourself, because we tend to have the same expectations of others, other people, other things, other events in our life that mimic the expectations we have for ourselves. So if I can't even keep my own word, how am I going to expect that other people would do something for me that I don't really have much experience within myself? So that's the first thing. We've got to start keeping those little promises. If you haven't checked out my new video, make sure you subscribe. If this is resonating with you, please comment, please like. That's going to make my channel grow. But if you need to figure out how you can show up better for yourself, more efficiently for yourself, and show up as you are. I'm not talking about having to fix yourself, take that extra course. You need that perfect person in order to bring out the best in you. That's not what we're doing. We give 1% around here, all right? So check out my video that I posted, my last video that I posted, and it's gonna help you understand how you can show up now. Because in those ways, when you allow yourself to just show up just a little bit, baby steps, right? SMART goals, something that we can actually reach. Not something that's out of reach, but something that we can actually reach. Don't always put yourself in a position where you have to be this perfect version of yourself in order to hit a goal. Because as you've seen, it has not worked. It hasn't worked. You didn't start the side hustle. You didn't start the channel, right? You didn't start the book. You didn't start whatever it is you said you were going to start, or at least you didn't see it through. That's evidence enough right there to tell you, hey, perhaps, okay, don't shoot the messenger, but perhaps your expectations are a bit too lofty for where you're at right now. And that's okay. That's okay. You have to meet yourself where you are. And that's so important, because when you do that, you're going to start to regain that sense of trust within yourself. In order to see trust in other people, you have to know what it looks like, feels like, acts like, talks like, walks like. And the only way you're going to know that is if you get acquainted with it within. These are the little ways that we build up trust. So that way, when your dream guy, he comes into your life, finally he's here, or your dream woman, or that dream job, but you're so skeptical and you've been hurt, and it's so hard for you to open up to these types of situations that want to bring you good, that are for your betterment. But sometimes you can't see it because in some ways you haven't always been the one to create a healthy relationship with trust within, right? So that's number one. And then number two of how we can build trust, especially when people and things are coming into our life and we're not exactly sure, like, can we trust this? What is this? Is really listening to your intuition. I also have a video on that. I forget what it's called, but you're gonna have to scroll through. I'm sorry. Maybe if I figure it out, I'll link it down below. But our intuition is always talking to us. Our intuition literally is our second brain. It's so powerful and it's all knowing. It's omnipotent. I think this is our divine connection with the Most High. It speaks to us through our intuition. And if we don't know how to listen to our intuition, or we can't decipher its voice, it's going to be more difficult to trust people, situations, or things that are coming into our life that are for our betterment. But we won't see it like that, or we'll push it away because we're just like, last time I dealt with someone in a romantic sense, or last time I dealt with a job, it didn't treat me the way that I thought I should be treated, or the way that I wanted to be treated. So now anytime somebody comes toward me, I'm going to push it away. I'm going to self-sabotage. But you can stop doing that. You can stop those patterns. One, by what I said earlier, is to do little things to rebuild trust within yourself to yourself, so that you're more acquainted with what it looks like when something else comes into your life that you should trust. And secondly, is for you to show up for yourself in a way that you understand the voice within. Right? We have to understand the voice. You have to be able to decipher between the voice of fear and the voice of intuition. What I've learned is that fear bullies me. It's loud. It scares me. It makes me want to take action right away. It makes me like jittery. It makes me move hastily. Whereas my intuition is quiet. It's a nudge. It's calming, but it is incessant. It does not stop. It's always there, but it's an undercurrent. It's very subtle, and you're very likely to miss it if you're not sensitive enough to yourself, your body, and the way that you respond to people, places, and things around you. So building trust back with yourself by showing up for yourself in little ways, keeping your word, getting acquainted with what that looks like and feels like, will really help this second portion of rebuilding back the trust that we need to have in other people. Right? Because people are here for us to trust, for us to love, for us to do business with, for us to make relationships with, for us to help prosper, and them help us prosper in return. We are interdependent beings. This whole independent and I don't need anybody, or I can do this on my own. You can't. You can't. We need others and others need us. This is a very interdependent kind of world. I'm not saying codependent. I'm not saying that you have to rely on people as your source, or other things as your source of validation, your source of love, your source of personhood, I guess, for lack of better words. But you do need people. And how terrible would it be to cut yourself off from the very thing that we're here to do, which is to love others and exchange that love? And I know it sounds very cliche, very cheesy, but when we start to really understand like the meaning of life, which I'm still understanding, I don't have the answers to it. I really don't. But what I'm coming to learn is that things are much more simple and basic than society makes it seem. Things are much more simple. If we just get back to the basics, right? Treating others kindly, keeping our word to ourselves, allowing ourselves to be loved, and putting ourselves in a situation to have to trust somebody. Because trust is also an exercise. It's an active thing. If you don't extend trust, you won't ever be able to trust someone. Or something, which is a very daunting task, right? To put ourselves in someone's hands, or things hands and it doesn't do the right thing with us, because so many of us have been burned before from people that we've loved or situations that we thought were going to turn out differently. So we tend to, again, self-sabotage. But we have to rebuild that trust, not only by keeping our word to ourselves, which builds it up, not only by making sure that we can listen to and decipher the difference between our intuition and fear, because that's going to help us feel better trusting, but also by extending trust. We must extend it. It is something we have to give. And if someone or something proves themselves untrustworthy, then you course correct and say, you know what did I do there? But it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. We have to understand, like, it's literally not the end of the world just because someone did something to us to break our trust. We just get better. We wonder, did I listen to my intuition? Did I ignore the red flags? Am I building trust with myself? Do I trust myself? Do I keep my word to myself? These are questions that are going to help guide whether we did the right thing when we extended our trust or not. Because at the end of the day, we need to be accountable for why we are where we are with whatever situation is in our life, right? It takes two to tango. Not to say that person, that place, that thing wasn't wrong for breaking your trust. You are absolutely justified in why you don't trust people, or why you don't trust situations, or why you're more so a loner and you're not really the kind of person to engage too much with others because you're always on edge, you're hyper vigilant. But that is keeping your body in a state of fight or flight. You're not meant to always have so much cortisol, right? The stress hormone just ravishing through your body. That's not something that's supposed to always be there in such high amounts. And then you wonder why you're fatigued. You wonder why it's so hard for you to open up to people. You're always in fight or flight, right? And to break that down even a little bit further, just to give you guys like a better example, fight or flight. When you're in fight mode all the time, that's like when we were more in a primitive state. And let's say there's a lion, like I live amongst the lions, right? And let's say I'm not that cool with Simba, and Simba is on my ass, right? It makes sense to be in fight mode or fight or flight mode at that time. Cortisol is rising. I'm ready. My muscles are tense because I'm ready to run. But Simba is not around. But yet your body is reacting as though Simba is here. We can't do that. Simba's not here. He's not going to get you. Simba was a good lion. What was the bad lion's name? Was it Mufasa? I don't know. I don't remember. But there was a bad lion in Lion King. And I don't know. He did a lot. But what I'm basically trying to say is that we can't allow ourselves to be in a perpetual state of fight or flight, because it is very taxing to our nervous system. And then you wonder why you're anxious. You wonder why you're depressed. You wonder why you have zero energy. Ask yourself, are you tense all the time? Are your shoulders up here, right? Are you grinding your teeth? Are you constantly, like biting down? These are all signs of tension within the body. And we have to understand that things like not being able to trust ourselves, things like not being able to trust others, or not being able to have the deep relationships. Because a lot of times what trust does enable I want to say, you cannot have a deep relationship without having trust. Those two things, I believe, are mutually exclusive. I don't see how you can build deeply with someone. And we all have that need to be seen, understood, to be loved as we are. And I think that's a biological need. Maybe we don't need the world. We don't have to have that with 10 people. But if you can't even have that with one person, we got to ask ourselves these questions. And the basis of it, in my opinion, is trust. Trust with self, trust with others. Do you trust your intuition? Has it steered you wrong? The intuition, though, never steers you wrong. It's fear that will steer you wrong, right? It's emotional trauma that will steer you wrong. Your intuition is always correct. Your intuition tends to get information that yet you don't intellectually understand yet, or you can't make sense of it yet, but intuitively your body just feels it. Remember, it knows everything. Why? Because this is our connection to the divine, to the Most High. We gotta be tapped in. We have to understand how to decipher between that intuitive voice versus that fear voice. Is this your emotional trauma speaking? Is this the people who talked down to you and told you really negative things about yourself? Is it them speaking? Is it even your voice? Like, take inventory of really who's talking. Is that your voice? Is that something you said to yourself? Or is it something that you've learned about yourself from something or from someone else? A lot of times we're guided by voices and situations that are not even our own. It's maybe our earliest caregivers or people who've had the biggest impact on us. And it's so empowering to say, you know what? That's actually not true about me. Or maybe it became a little bit true because I believed it, but today I'm not going to believe that anymore. Today I'm going to believe that I can trust myself. I'm going to believe that I can call in trustworthy situations, because you deserve to have depth. You deserve to have a deep relationship with the people who come in, because it's a survival thing, right? When the baby's first born, I believe they did a study, I forget what it's called, but when you didn't actually touch the babies, right? The babies died. Their health plummeted because they did not have that contact. And because we can't talk to babies, we can't talk to them about their fears and all that, the only way that they know, or the only way we can convey to them love, trust, safety, protection, is through touch. So as we get older, we can do a little bit more without touch, even though it's still very necessary for us at this big age. But if we're not able to allow ourselves to trust people and to have that deep relationship, there's a part of you that really deteriorates. So it's very important that we learn why we can't trust and how we can take steps toward trusting, like I gave in this video. So I'm going to leave it there. And please, if this did resonate with you, or you are trying to build back that trust, let me know if this has helped, or let me know if there's some things that you're doing down below in the comments that are really helping you rebuild that trust, because you deserve it. You deserve to live richly, deeply, fully in your entirety. And we're not going to allow things in the past to stifle that for us. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to love and be loved, and trust and be trusted. So if this has resonated, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Please like my video. That really helps communicate to YouTube that, my videos are A1. So like, and I will see you guys in the next video.